Hello, guys.
Hi,
Olá,
So,
tudo
everybody.
bem?
hola,
Alô, shalom,
shalom. We have Shaked here today for this lovely
buongiorno.
podcast, and he's like a good friend of ours. He works at Lingopie. I'll give him like the word to introduce himself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So my name is not Shaked, it's Shaked. You need to emphasize the K. It's very hard sometimes for some people. And I'm based in Tel Aviv. This is Deborah. And yeah, and I speak Hebrew. By the way, I think it's pretty cool. This fun fact about Israeli names. So my name means an almond tree, almendro, mandorlo, and basically our names is either biblical or very hippies. So you can find people, very common people that name of like wave or after a tree or something like that. So this is just a fun fact about where I'm from, and yeah, and I really love. One second. I really like
Fun fact
to
is that
cook.
most of your names are unisex, no?
Interesting. Yeah, that's most of it, pretty much. Yeah. So I really love to travel, and I think it changed my life. I was for pretty nice amount of time traveling in the Americas, both north and south. And while I was traveling, the way I did it is first and most important is go without any time restrictions, which means I just took a flight and then I figure out what I'm doing, where I'm going. I didn't have a plan. And what one thing I knew that I don't want to travel with people from my country, and I want to meet other people from other cultures. And it happened to be probably the best decision I made in my life, and I like did the best to really get to know the locals and be as less gringo as possible and learn the language. Not easy in the beginning, but with the time I kind of picked it up. I was first went to the World Cup 4 years ago. Went to German Brazil historical disaster.
Seven,
What
seven,
you're doing?
seven one.
Asking. Yes, I
It was a
came.
disaster.
Yeah, funny story actually that 7-1, and I started drinking beer because this is what you do when you go to a game. And I was like, after the first goal, I told my friend, "Man, I need to go to the toilets." And I was just like a second after I went, I was waiting in the line. I heard like all the stadiums like, "Whoa!" Like something happened crazy. A minute after again, and I was like, "What the fuck? What happening?" And then a minute after again, and then I came back, and my friend is looking at me. I can't believe you lost 3 goals, man, of the most historical game.
It was
I was
your fault, Shaq. You shouldn't go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but then a German friend told me that Germans are experts for beer and toilets relationship, and there is this thing that in order to avoid it, the first time you need to go to the toilets, you need to hold the hardest you can, and then it will kind of fix it. So you want me to go every time, but just a funny story. So yeah, so I was traveling for a while. I met a bunch of Argentinians, learned Castellano. Then I was also, like I said, in Brazil, and I fell in love with the people there in Belo Horizonte, and I learned Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, mainly through music. This is like I'm still today binge listening music, and yeah, and this is pretty much it. I think I spoke a lot, like always. But yeah, go ahead.
You're the guest. You're
The
the
star.
man in the room. You can the
No,
star.
no.
You can speak
You're,
a
you're the
lot.
you're the star, Pedro.
No, I'm not. I'm just like
Seu campeão. Beleza.
nice, very cool.
Yes.
And you, Alice, would like to introduce yourself, Alice?
Yes, I am Alisa. I live in Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula with my husband and my daughter for like around 4 years already. And I moved here from Israel, where I lived before, and I also work in Lingopie, and in the marketing department, I'm doing organic growth for Lingopie. I speak 5 languages, also, like Russian, German, English, Hebrew, and Arabic. Not fluent yet, however, good enough in order to understand the important things and say the important things at the moment. I hope I will be better soon. And traveling. I also love travel and cooking a lot. I traveled
Alisa
over.
is she's amazing cook. She's a little bit modest, but yeah, best her pasta with shrimps is amazing. Don't tell the rabbi, but it's really good.
I traveled over 50 countries all over
Ooh,
the
Ooh,
world,
that's a
I
lot.
think, pretty much on every continent. And but I am different than you, Shaket. I always had a time limit because if I wouldn't have a time limit, I think then I wouldn't have came home ever. It would be always always get stuck in places, and I
which
also
I don't think is a bad thing. Just saying, and just you are stuck in Sinai, let's say, for 3 years. So I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know if your plan went so well,
I went to come. I came here to travel, and then I met my husband and got stuck. And same
and
thing,
he
but
came on a horse,
same thing happened in Israel, and
and he
same
was on
thing.
a white horse. This is the picanchi, the white
Yes,
horse the story. You know, the
it was.
Messiah. He's supposed to come on a white horse.
He was on a white horse, indeed. That's not an exaggeration.
Exactly. Desert beach, white horse, and the future husband. It sounds
Oh
like a
yeah.
story.
Yes. Da da da. We have a farm here, which I didn't mention last time. It's not so related to languages, but we can do some induced advertising for regenerative farming, which we are practicing here in the desert with some, how to say, varying successes here and there. But it's exciting, and we got some interesting visitors last week. So this was very amazing to start.
Biden was there, I think. No, Joe Biden.
Joe
No.
Biden?
There were
Oh, he
90.
just came to Sinai in Sharm.
No, no, the COP27.
Yeah,
No,
it
just
was
now
here.
they were having a conference. He was in the farm.
It was close
So
to
I
the
heard
farm.
very close.
90 presidents were here. They like closed down Sinai. Nobody could come in and out, and they made everybody install lights and
So
security
typical for those
cameras.
presidents. Such a typical thing to do.
Yeah, but yeah, that's about it for me. You didn't introduce yourself, Pedro, last time, so
I will introduce myself now. I'm Pedro. I'm from Brazil. Also, I'm working at Lingopie, doing marketing stuff, some link building, some partnership here, onboarding there, this podcast, like a bit of everything. Currently, I'm living in Curitiba, south of Brazil, but we never know tomorrow. I can go like stay like in some another country because I really enjoy to travel as well. Like all my folks in Lingopie, I think for start, this is like a pre-request to work in Lingopie. Like, do you like to travel? Yes, so come on board. So you are part of Lingopie because everyone travels at Lingopie. It's amazing. I think that's one of the reasons that I really enjoy the company because it's so easy for for people to talk about it. So if you put like everyone's in the line and ask which countries have you been, we can put all the countries together in one company. So that's
I
amazing.
think we've been to
Uh,
all the countries together.
no, I yes, I think like if you put like everyone's country, like the visited ones, not the originally. So probably we have like, I don't know, Botão. I probably there's no one in Botão, or I don't know. Maybe there's someone visit Botão. I don't how do I say, like, I don't know if it's Botão. It's in English, Botão.
Isn't it
I
Myanmar?
was
In
I
Port
was thinking you were saying in Portuguese like button,
Botão.
then I understood that you're talking about the country.
It's the country.
Yeah, I
No,
think it's
but
Bhutan, but I don't know. I'm not an
Bhutan, Bhutan. In Portuguese, Botão. It's crazy. It's almost the same thing. What I really like to do is, besides of traveling, swimming, diving. When I have an ocean to do, I don't like to do this in rivers. I hate river. I don't like rivers. I don't swim in rivers. Never. I'm fucking afraid
It's kind of a weird
of
thing not
snakes.
to like, Pedro. Like,
Uh,
I can understand if you don't like broccoli, but why do you hate rivers? It's
I,
not a
I
thing to be hating.
No, it's not hate. I like to see it. I don't like to swim in rivers. That's the thing. There's snakes.
Okay.
There are snakes in rivers. These things that I don't believe, that I don't trust a lot.
All Brazilian, they have this phobia of like crazy animals. Like, it's crazy. All the Brazilians that I met, they have some trauma, or like because it's like there's really dangerous animals there. But
Yes,
yeah,
like snakes, like spiders. What
cobra,
else? Cobra, aranha. I don't know why this happened, but
dengue,
I'm not
mosquitoes,
a. No,
sharks.
mosquitoes. That's fine. No, there's no sharks here.
Not in where you live, Recife.
No, but that is not a lot. It's not like South Africa. There's white sharks. It's
Man,
just
go to
small
Recife
shark.
and then we talk.
Perhaps
Very
the next year I'm heading there, like to northeast of Brazil. And also, the cool stuff about myself is, like, I wrote a book 2 years ago, and I never wrote again another book. Hopefully, one day I can do again, because it's such a hard task to do it. I'm quite lazy to start, like, think another one.
What's the
But
book about, Pedro?
it's about, obviously, about traveling. It's like 12 short stories about travel situation around the world. So there's situations happening in Israel, Spain, Czech Republic, Mexico, Brazil, even in Iran. I've never been in Iran, so but I wrote it. I mean, nowadays we have access to Google Maps, all the information, so I can check out the streets and places in Iran, the culture, and I build a story based on that. Also, Italy, Naples in Italy. Yes, it was like a cool. Some stories were a bit real, another ones were more related to fiction, but basically, mostly I published. I have
Yeah, I
I
have it
have
in
here
my home.
I have here somewhere. Okay, I can take it, like, later. There's, like, in the room. I published by myself. This is a self-published, the physical book, and on for Kindle as well, on Google, on Amazon. It was an interesting experience to build the book from the scratch and publish by myself without,
Pretty
like, a
impressive,
publisher.
Pedro, I have to say.
Yes, it was a nice, like, drafting the cover. I did all by myself, and because it's so expensive to hire, like, a publisher to start, like, doing that. So I thought, okay, I can learn this. I learned how to use Adobe InDesign to edit my book. So it's edited. I took, like, several books to check the words, the size, which calligraphy I would use it. But it was an interesting experience. It took, like 5 6 months from starting the book and receive the first box after I finished. But yes, was I miss those old days, like writing. Perhaps I quite lazy to write now. I don't write. I just write like emails and this kind of stuff. No history again. But yes, that's me.
Where did you
Very
guys
cool, man.
go? Your first big trip, like
My
Mm,
when you
first
really
big
felt
trip.
like when you really felt like disconnected from your home, and your parents, and you were really on your own. And I don't mean like a couple of days; I mean like a couple of weeks.
Mine was in Spain. Actually, it was the first time I left Brazil. I was 20, 26 years old. I booked a plane to volunteer in Spain. I did in a city close to Valencia, Malaga, and Granada. So I spent like 3 months there. So it was the first time ever I left Brazil. I took like this first trip. Also, it was the trip that I went to Israel, Thailand, and everywhere. I supposed to be out of home 4 months, and I spent like 12. So it was amazing, and I've never stopped since then. So it's something that it's me. I need to be on the road. Nowadays I'm in Brazil, but I know at some point I'm gonna start again, start over. I don't know where. I did this like in South America for 10 months now.
Are you in your home now? No.
That's hard to say. I'm. I mean, we can say that I'm home. I'm at home because there's. I don't think I have a home. I'm staying at my girlfriend's house.
Okay.
But I can say it's home. Now if it's Brazil, it's home.
Okay, so like it's there is like an evolution. Okay, so I think first really time that I went without my parents was when I was 15. So I was in Germany for a month in a kind of very cool program in a small town called Gauting, just outside of Munich. And I stayed there with some people around my age, and I loved it. I think it's the first, like, let's say, time that I felt that this is something that I really like to do is meeting people from other cultures and doing like daily routine stuff. Just you know, we went to their school, we drank a lot of beer, of course. We went to eat. We went to the English Garden in Munich and went to the river, Pedro. I'm sorry, but we went inside the river.
But there's no snakes in Germany.
Yes, but this was beautiful. Munich was amazing. And yeah, so I was there, and I went to Dachau for like this seminar thing, of course. um, and I really loved it. Like there was like in the seminar there was like 120 people from different places in the world. I met my first like serious girlfriend, which is from Trieste, from Italy. um, and yeah, I don't know, it was amazing. And I think then I went also to Palma de Mallorca for visiting a brother, a friend of mine. So again, another kind of independent in the world, which I felt very like. We took a flight, we went a connection in Frankfurt, and I remember the lady in the airport was asking me if I have foam, like something with foam, like shampoo and stuff, and I didn't know what foam means, and I was like, and she was very angry. So yeah, I had some stuff, not knowing the language. It can be stressful sometimes, I have to say. And it was English, so yeah. uh, so this was like the first iteration, let's say. And then I went during my military service. I went to Thailand. I think I broke a record for the first soldier ever that got approved for taking a vacation for 3 weeks to Thailand. I went with my dad. And the big let's say experience outside of my homeland was going to the US. I was walking there in all kind of beauty and organic kind of cosmetic things, and I really like it. I was very
In the
good at
cars?
it. um,
in the
No,
car to
it
Falls?
was like the second variant. It was a really exclusive like spa. I was doing facial treatments. I was really like going very deep into the ingredients, and so it was very exclusive. There are people like booking like treatment with me.
Oh,
I was like
what type of
a skin
treatment were you
expert.
doing? I would like to understand.
No, there was like this thing of like first you put like a hot towel to open the pores, and then you put a mask that is like heating up the muscles.
You are the person doing this.
And then you put like some kind of a gold magnetic mask, and then you put on top like this mask from gold as well, which weird. It is cool. And yeah, and you have all kind of like crazy kind of like in the dentist like lightning. You have like a kind of it's look like a refrigerator but for hot towels, and you put music, and you know when you speak with a person, it was very cool.
Are you doing this
um
for Rebecca?
ne- what?
Are you doing it now for Rebecca?
I don't have the equipment. Actually, I need the creams and stuff. But yeah, in my spirit, I'm trying to pamper her as well. Uh, and yeah, and I went to the States to save money because my dream was to go to the World Cup, and I happened to have some Swiss guy in my unit in the military, which is sister is a lawyer. I don't know if still in FIFA, and she brought like she connected me with this random guy in Switzerland, and he just told me just pick a place, you know, corruption in FIFA, yeah, it's not a
That's not a problem.
so, yeah. So he just told me just pick a game and a place, and I would just get you a ticket. And he was, and I was in the States when he sent me the ticket. So he sent it to a friend of mine in New York, and I didn't like he didn't ask for money in the beginning, which like he didn't ask for money. I knew that I'm supposed to pay him 700 US dollars because it was semifinal and it was like the best seats. And yeah, just like I needed to run after him to pay him the money, but it was very weird and fun. And then I went to Brazil and I stayed there in Belo Horizonte. I came for the football, guys, and I fell in love with the people and the music. And like the football was very much of a secondary thing, especially after the horror game that I was experiencing
Yes.
as a Brazilian fan. And I went to the Copa America after and stuff like that. And then I went back to the States for a while and for another iteration in Latin America. Um, and I think, I don't know if because we already record some part of the podcast, so I don't know if I'm repeating the same one. Guys, tell me. But what I wanted to like to emphasize that one thing that drew me into this traveling style is the understanding that I want to meet other cultures than my own, and I don't want to go in this Hamas road, which this is how we call the place where all the Israelis traveling to. And I met amazing people, mainly Argentinians, which because of the economic reality, they cannot really travel like us Israelis. That like you know we can travel with our money and stuff like that. So they need to use their talent everywhere they go and find things to make money, like I don't know, doing juggling, doing like food and music and like street kind of theater. So I met those type of amazing friends today that they accepted me, although I was a gringo and I barely speak Spanish, to their like familia viajera, to their traveling family. One of the girls there, Raisa, she's one of she was like the team leader of Spanish, and she worked with us. And other also that work in customer success that travel with me, and a lot of amazing people that still today I really missed. And yeah, so my point is that I think the most important and most amazing thing you can do is just go without a time limit. Um, this is the best way to travel. This is also the cheapest way, I think, because you kind of blend with the locals. You find the places that are not expensive. You eat the best food and the cheapest one. Um, and it changed my life, guys. Honestly, I'm not the person. I'm sure I won't be the person I'm here today without being able to learn languages, without being able to learn about other people culture. My fiancee, she's Brazilian, and we always, since day one, spoke Portuguese because this is what I learned before, and I think it's made me a better person as well. And this is something that I believe mystically or spiritually drew me to Lingopie by accident, and I'm very glad and honored to be in charge on the product and trying to humanize or like take the way I learn languages and try to um, make it more
to,
like
to
practical and like
spread to the world.
yeah, just like with features and stuff. But yeah, I think the way language taught for adults or like for like young adults or for youngsters it's wrong. And I think the moment start learning would be outside of the education system and will be a casual intuitive thing, hopefully using Lingopie. This is when people will be less ignorant, know more languages, and I think in general we will have a better world. That was my speech. Passing
Well,
a bola para você agora, Copa do Mundo.
Shakej, did you hire all of your friends?
Yeah, I started. I
you
needed
you
people
bring
that
you
are
bring
fast.
all
My
please please
my
go.
my initial goal was to have a good excuse to reach out to friends that I haven't seen for many years, and to bring them back to my life. So yeah, so I brought Raisa, and then she brought her sister, and then her sister brought her like boyfriend, and then I brought Pedro, which is a friend of mine. We met when I was teaching cooking classes. Um,
Shakshuka to
Shakshuka
specify like
was the best volunteer there. Was my assistant. Um, and yeah, so I brought basically all the people that I know, Melina as well, Carolina, so many people. And then Raisa brought her boyfriend, and then they broke up. But that's a different story. Yeah. So yeah, it's a telenovela in Lingopie, guys.
it's a
It's
telenovela.
a real telenovela. The
Yes,
stories
everyone
is can definitely can be filmed and produced very,
everyone
really
brings someone. Everyone like
exactly.
that's super cool. I
And I think
remember
this is
when I
also the secret sauce of Lingopie, that we have very strong relationship which build on trust, build on common values and common traveling and the way we see the world values. Um, and I think that's something that is very unique, and it's not just a place to work. It's really a place that we that I personally love to work with the people that I really admire. And I think yeah, I think this is the reason why we are doing something good and we can make it even better.
for you, what should be a perfect world? What's
Yes,
your desires for it's not a perfect
I think this
a
is
decent.
Alisa's turn because I spoke too much. Alisa, I'm really eager to hear your
My
response.
first vacation.
Oh, we also on this question. Sorry.
We have this we have this.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
First of all, a small story because you seem to be because we are in the middle of a World Cup and you seem to be interested in soccer. But so I wanted to tell you like a small
It's
detail
football.
before. When I was living in Berlin and there was the World Cup in Germany, so I was working since before. I was working in the stadiums as a VIP waitress. So I went to many games, and I went also to the final of the World Cup in Germany, where it was France against Italy, where Zidane headbutted
I
the
remember Matarazzo.
the
I,
Italian guy.
I remember that I remember the day that's done. Yeah, headed Matarazzo. I think it was Matarazzo.
Yeah. So and Italy won, I think. Yeah. So it's like crazy, crazy atmosphere. Okay, but let me tell you about my first big trip. I mean, I went a little bit, couple of times without my parents before that, but first big trip was when I was 17 and I went to New Zealand as a type of like, I mean, school exchange without exchange, basically. Like, I just went in order to speak English because English was not my first language in school. It was French. And but okay, that's not really the reason. It's kind of common that in 11th grade in Germany, because the school system used to be a little, how to say, not very efficient. So the 11th grade used I went to school for 13 years, and the 11th grade used to be a bit redundant. Like it's between the like finishing 2 years and the 10th grade, which you like kind of finish also like a degree. So the 11th grade was like whatever, like just floating there. So many used to go for a year abroad, but I didn't go for a year. I went for 4 months to New Zealand. And it was amazing. Like it was an amazing experience, like to understand that there is such a big different world out there. And I I had so many lessons in like getting to know the Maori culture and getting to know local people and how everything was different than I knew it from home. And so beautiful, such a beautiful tropical wonderful country with very hospitable people. So I went to school for around maybe 2 months, and then I got released from school because I wanted to travel. And the school said, whatever, go to travel. It's more important than going to school. So they released me from school for another 2 months. Like they wrote, they wrote me as if I went to school. And I went to travel in the South Island with my friend from Switzerland who was also in the program. We went like hitchhiking in the Southern Island. And yeah, it was like this was like all the milestones for my life basically were put there. I was 18. um all the milestones which later would maybe evolve into uh being more empathetic, being more open to new things, understanding that you don't know nothing actually, and that there's nothing you like, whatever you have when you grow up, this is just one perspective of 1,000 million perspectives. And yeah, and it was absolutely like I came back and I understood that I don't know, like I didn't want to have this life anymore in Berlin and the city. I wanted to get out, and I wanted to like get out of this weird cocoon which I was like growing up in. And pretty fast, like I finished school, I left Germany, I studied in a different country, and then I went on in a different country, and um, I guess in a subconscious search of being closer to nature, and until I got here. And yeah, but I wasn't traveling like Shaket, like big chunks. I was traveling always because I was working and studying most of the time. I never took like I took only like a year off or 1.5 years off. The first year when I came to Israel to learn the language, but other than that, I was always working and studying. Like so, I went always for like a month or 1.5 months. However, I never could go for like I mean, I never wanted to go. I could have taken time off. It was just not my priority. I wanted to finish university fast. I wanted to finish everything fast because I was supporting myself, and I didn't want to like. In Germany, there's so many people who are like studying for 10 semesters, and I really wanted to avoid that. But yeah, I still got to see lots of places, and I'm very grateful. Also, to a point where I actually was at a point where I had the time and I had the money, which was rare in this world. You either have the time or you have the money, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go anymore. I was like sick of traveling by myself. I wanted to share it with someone. I traveled so much, and I wanted like a different type of experience. And yeah, and I also don't like moving so much. I'm not such a like I'm I'm moving and I'm getting stuck. I'm not the I don't like to be like on the road traveling a lot because like
Like a Bedouin.
Like a
exactly
man.
like I'm settling where I come. If I like it, that's it. I can't leave anymore. And it's hard for me. I need to leave because I need to be leaving. However, if I don't have like an open if I have no time for him to come back, I would have stayed in New Zealand like 15 years ago. So yeah, that's it from
Do you have some advice? Like, because honestly, I don't know how to travel for a certain amount of time, which is not very long. And we are going to Portugal in like middle of December. And I wonder if you have like a advice how you can travel for like a month period or 3 weeks in a way that is like not just like touristic sightseeing.
my favorite way to travel, especially in Europe, is renting a car. I'm renting a car, especially in Portugal. It's very cheap, and you have on one hand you have the independence of doing it on your own, and you're not dependent on any like trains and buses and stuff, and your stuff can be like all your shit can be in the trunk. So I did actually Portugal in 1 month by car. Uh,
So like you book stuff in like before, like for example when we were in Italy,
I book it the same
everything needed
day.
to be booked. Amazing. It's my
No,
type
I
of
I was
traveling.
driving. I was driving, and okay, I would have like maybe like a general direction of something I would like to see, and and then I would go towards this direction, and then I would usually book it like one the same day or a day before if I knew that I will stay there tomorrow. However, in Portugal, a thing which you might be interested in, I can recommend you, which was mind blowing
Castel
somehow,
di
is
Belém.
the Azores, the Azores Islands.
Wow.
You
Isn't it
can get
far? Yeah, I heard it's amazing.
very far. It's like 2.5 hours flight, but you can fly there pretty cheap with Ryanair. But if you have 3 weeks, then but it's gonna be cold. Like I mean, if you are going in the season, you are going. I was in September and it was already cold, but it's
Yeah, I just
absolutely
wanted to go.
mind blowing. It's like these volcanic islands which are like like on steroids because it's like so fertile there because of the volcanic soil. So you have everywhere flowers which are this size, and you have everywhere. I call them the paradise keepers. Like everywhere, people who would just garden something and they would like just like make it even prettier. Then all the people, they have no IKEA, they have no McDonald's, they have no Burger King, they're completely like isolated. If you're going to a supermarket, it's like this back in the day, you come to this like stand and then you're like, I want this and this. And all the people are like in like slow motion. It's like, island people are
Wow.
generally a bit weird, But these island people are so far away from civilization, and they've been so far away from civilization for so long because Ryanair opened their flights like maybe a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago. Before that, it was so expensive to fly there, and it's like a different universe. So if you feel like going for a couple of
Wow,
days, it's
I,
really
I feel I feel like going honestly, and yeah, and just send me all the like stuff for Portugal, and if we can also add to the description of the podcast, it's very valuable, guys. Alisa's recommendation for traveling. It's like,
and
yeah,
I would love. I mean, what I usually do is I'm trying to find a house, a really nice place to stay. Like I'm kind of I like nice housing. Not necessarily expensive, just like nice. Like so you like have something authentic, like some type of Portuguese native farmer's house, maybe like a finca or
amazing.
something. And then I usually stay there for a couple of days, and from there I do trips around the area. The people who are like
Like
renting
star.
it to you are telling you how to like where to find good
Wow, that's
things.
that's my kind of traveling exactly.
Yes,
So
Why not?
I
get a
rather
house
have
maybe
like
in
a
the south
hamper.
in Algarve, get a house in the north in Douro. Like there's the Douro region, the it's beautiful. The Algarve is beautiful. But see with the weather, it's like the weather is like ocean.
Alice, very good.
My parents actually been to Portugal last week and they loved it.
Shaked, are you planning to live in Portugal or just like spend like some time? This is a tryout.
Listen,
He said.
David Roy is listening, so yeah, that's a secret plan. But not anymore, Pedro. Thank you. No, I'm kidding. No,
I'm sorry.
but yeah, we like it's been too long since last time I was traveling. At least the way I consider traveling, and I think also everything here feels more radical. So I feel that now it's a good time to give it a shot. Again, I think we're going for a month. Then I guess we go for another 3 months, hopefully, if we like it, and then step by step, paso por paso, pasito a
Pas-
pasito, como dice la
Pasito,
reggaeton,
pasito. Pasito, pasito.
suave suavecito.
Amazing. That's pretty cool. I want to like visit Portugal again. I went there like in 2018 for 5 days in Lisbon. Lisbon was
What?
amazing.
But did you understand the language, Pedro?
It was hard.
Yeah.
Português, por favor. Português de Portugal, eles pronunciam um pouquinho
That's
rápido.
I will also like I think it's important to because people
Yes.
think that people in Portugal and Brazil, yeah, they speak Portuguese, but like I think it's very important to understand, and this is another tip. Like the most important thing for my opinion in language is to focus on the tonation and the accent,
Yes.
and it can change totally the interaction with locals. It can change totally your mind. I think if you are able to your brain able to imitate properly the accent, I think it's a very difficult thing to do, and I think it's very good to practice it. And more, and what's really funny about the Brazilian Portuguese and Portuguese from Portugal is that like it's the same language, means that Brazilian can read everything. There are like some funny different like opposite usage of like raparigas, meninas, stuff very weird that yeah,
Fish. Fish.
fish. So like the way things said in Brazil are very 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 different in Portugal, like in the meaning, in terms of meaning. But for example, we take the word like that maybe many people knows in Spanish, that is gente, which in Italy it's very similar. You write it Gente on all of the language, Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian. So in Spanish is gente, mi gente. Si you're following J Balvin, I think, or like some famous reggaeton dude. And in Italian is gente,
La
and in
gente, sim.
Portuguese from Brazil it's gente.
Gente.
It's like a
Gente.
chiclete is like a chewing gum. You need to stretch the word as hard as you can, and you need to really give it your whole. And in Portuguese from Portugal, which is the same language, I remind you, written the same way, it's junto.
Gente.
They don't
Gente.
open the mouth to actually expressing. So, like, if se a gente falar agora em português do Brasil, tudo que a gente fala vai ser mais assim cantado. It's gonna be
Cantado,
like
assim.
singing in Portuguese. É tudo assim mastigado, like you are chewing the words like very like this. And if se a gente vai falar o português de Portugal, a gente não vai falar assim falando abrindo a boca, como
Tô falando igual o Cristiano Ronaldo.
um falou agora Cristiano Ronaldo e a gente vai falar. So this is basically the different. Like I can speak in Brazilian Portuguese and Portuguese from Portugal that I need to improve. That's why, honestly, with all this wasn't the joke. I asked Pedro if he understood the people there because it's very very different the way they pronounce things.
No, I
So
did.
yeah,
But it's not a easy test. It's even mainly when you put together a lot of Portuguese speaking
yeah.
citizen at the same place in a table, for example.
But there is like to be
It's
continued.
nice.
There is an
Yeah.
episode dedicated that made by Pedro and Monica about differences between Brazilian Portuguese and Portuguese from Portugal. So yeah, to be continued there.
Yes, it's coming an YouTube episode that me and Monica we were at the beach, so we record. She record like the difference between like Portuguese from Brazil, Portuguese from Portugal. I believe we will be releasing this episode on January, like the first week of January. But
And
yes,
it,
it's
and I think also regarding that, I think like there is this rigid way of thinking. I think for people that they want to learn only this dialect. I only want Portuguese from Portugal. I only want Spanish from Mexico. Guys, this is what makes language amazing. This is so rich. Yes, it may be difficult to follow different dialects from the beginning, but this is what makes all what we are doing here so exciting because it's a different culture and nuances and slang and like the way people talk with the hands or without. And I think like for example, if you just focus on Portuguese from Portugal, you wouldn't be aware of amazing richness of Brazilian music.
true.
And yeah, and if you go to like only Portuguese from Brazil, you wouldn't be aware to amazing fado or like Portuguese music. So I think don't be so strict, guys. Think about it as a child. This is, I think, the best tip I can give for people that like care about other cultures, is really try to be as open-minded as possible. Don't be harsh on yourself. Just like play with it, don't take yourself seriously. Still today, like I have this thing, the first and the most important thing when you learn a new language is that you make a lot of the funniest mistakes that you are only allowed because you're a gringo. So you need to take advantage of it and just play with it. Like it's okay, not okay, you need to make mistakes. The mistakes is what makes you actually remember emotionally those things and remember how to say it correctly. And I still today, although I know how to say the words properly in Portuguese, because I think it's funny, I just mix like stupid mistakes. For example, a tourist guy in Portuguese, this guia de turismo, and I really like to say guia de torresmo, which means like a guy with a pork skin. So it's like those stupid things that are really
It's
really
okay.
funny. Guia de tourism, and and many times my fiance, she's Brazilian, and she doesn't see eye to eye in this case, and she always correct me for stuff, and I in purpose I continue doing those mistakes, although I know how to say it correctly because I think it's funny. So really think about it as an adventure. Don't take yourself
Question.
seriously. Have fun. Fala aí.
I I want to ask you, like, especially since especially since there's such big differences in intonation, and we've talked about it also in the past, how important it is that you try to speak like the locals do, basically, and that it connects you much more and much stronger. So what would be your advice, let's say, like of how to sound more like a native, or what to do in order to sound more like in what way to learn in order to sound more like a native?
So amazing. I think it's really good question. First, like I said, forget about the concept of us as an adults, which we criticize ourselves and we give grades to ourselves every place we go. So just forget about it. Like it's okay, just play with it, have fun, try to the hardest you can to make fun of yourself, and by that you will be much closer to the right tonation. Because for example, for Portuguese from Brazil, even now I don't even pay attention, but in Hebrew, if I would say it with the Hebrew accent, I would say Brazil, which is like Brazilian won't understand. It needs to be Brazil. You don't pronounce the L. And I was trying to say that I'm from Israel. In Hebrew, I would say Israel. In Spanish, I tried because everyone thinks that people that speak Spanish, they also speak Portuguese and vice versa. So I said Israel. They didn't understand until I understood that I need to say Israel. So
Israel.
those things are crucial in terms of like first forget about you, your ego, and your like anxiety of failing. This is not relevant in language learning. This is just make it hard, just have fun. So that's the first tip. And the second thing is music. Just listen to music. um, we have in Lingopie, of course, but also Spotify has amazing feature which shows you all the lyrics. This made my Portuguese like, and I think it's also amazing because first there is amazing music out there, and it's very culture. It's very like repetition wise in terms of comprehension, and unless you go to reggaeton and hip hop, I don't know, with rap music, it's pretty slow and repetitive, and you can discover art, like really poetry and the way they speak, and learn a lot about the culture by listening to its music, like,
So how did
and
you
have access to content.
how
Say
did you
again?
use like, let's say there is no, like, okay, we have the amazing Lingopie music product, but how did you used to do it? Did you translate the songs, like for
So no,
example, one of
honestly, I didn't do. I'm very lazy. I'm not a good student. Actually, I didn't even went to university because I don't like to sit and study. I just study on the go. So I'm not that type of person of like go and like start memorizing words and stuff like that. I just like I actually sent me a message yesterday. Joao Africa, a friend of mine, which is from Guinea-Bissau, and he was living in Brazil. So when I was traveling, I had a hard disk, and he just put tons of music in my hard disk, and I just listened to this music. There was even music in Creole, which is native to where he come from, and like many things, and I just listened to music just like that. And I think also another important thing is like people always ask me, oh, when did you start like since when you know Portuguese? And I don't have an answer because like language learning is not start and end. It's a life-changing adventure that you need to like. I don't think you can learn a language in an academic kind of environment, or like in a I don't know, like you learn programming languages. I don't know. The best way to learn language is just to fall in love with the people and the culture and all the nuances and slang and stuff like that. And I think that's why like I don't have an answer than when I started learning Spanish or Portuguese and where I ended, because I still learning every day. Like every time I hear music that I love from Caetano Veloso, for example, on
That's I
Spotify.
wanna ask what is your top five artists from Brazil?
Caetano Veloso, Jorge Alberto, Chimaya, eh,
Shimaya,
Elis
three,
Regina,
Elis Regina,
Tom Jobim
Tom Jobim,
e MC
Jorge
Kevin.
Jorge Ben Jorge, MC
MC
Kevin.
Kevin. No, no, I'm
Okay.
kidding. Yeah, the last one was very like trash, which is very cool, funky reggaeton,
Yes.
which is fun.
What is reggaeton is
So
for
yes.
Spanish culture. We have funky,
Yeah.
like
So
from
if you
Brazil.
need a recommendation for playlists in Portuguese, we will add it to the description. As
I'm also a big fan of Caetano Veloso, but I also listened to some of the songs like over 200 times because this was the only song I had on my iPhone when I was doing Camino de Santiago.
which song?
Sozinhos.
And which one? It's a
Which
long,
song?
long, long, long
I don't
way.
know because there's this the famous song from Caetano Veloso called Sozinhos.
Sério?
It's called Long Way, and I felt like
Long
it.
way.
Yeah.
Wow, I love this album.
I
It's
don't.
a long, long way. Wow,
Yes.
it's called the name of the album. It's Tranza.
Yeah.
Tranza.
I feel by
Transa.
listening to
You know,
it.
he was living in UK in this time. That's why it's also in
Yes.
English.
So I feel by
I think he
listening
was.
to it
Sorry, sorry,
a
Elisa.
thousand
Just,
times, it didn't
yeah,
bring me any closer to learning, to understanding
just
Portuguese.
before
So
I'm answering your frustration, I just wanted to say a fun fact. It's not really fun. There was tons of amazing musicians during the dictatorship in Brazil that were like needed to run and like leave the country. One of them was Caetano Veloso. So he went to England and he made this song, this album. It's called Trança, which is amazing, and it's part English, part Portuguese. And this is a good song if you like the cultural historical aspects album to start with, and it's beautiful because it's also mixed English. Answering your frustration, Lisa, I think like every person is different, and I think if you go deeply in your meditation session, the reason that this obstacle for people that have difficulty with languages has, I don't think it's like the nerve system, I don't know, brain stuff or physical things. I think it's probably some trauma that we are carrying, probably because of old like adult like teacher or like parents that made us feel that it's like we cannot learn or this way or like something there. I think if you ask like people that are really I can learn languages too hard or like this is not for me, probably they are carrying something much more deeper inside of like some teacher that was like very cruel to them, or like some feeling as a child that they were not good enough and not have feeling of success. I think this is the key. And another thing is that every person is slightly different. I think the amount of music in Portuguese that I was listening to together with this like I don't care about making fool of myself and trying to speak. I think this combination made it as a successful experience. But I really don't think that there is a difference between any person and a person that actually learn language. Just this success, the feeling of success, which is I think the most important thing when learning anything and in general, I think for self confidence. So I think
And
this is
also,
my answer to you.
is not to be afraid of failure. I mean,
Not it's
if you
not to be
want,
afraid, Pedro.
it's
You
not,
need to
it's not
fail.
failure.
In order to learn, you need to
Yes,
fail.
exactly. Not to
You
like not
must
to
fail.
have this afraid. You shouldn't have afraid of failure because
No,
you
forget
don't
about afraid. Afraid is not relevant. You need to fail
to
and you need to
failure.
make
Yes,
mistakes.
true. Because
Don't be afraid. You need
it's,
to fail.
it's really hard
Sorry,
to sound
very
like an
passionate about
people
this.
really want to sound native when they are learning English. They really want to sound like American or like a British.
Yeah.
I think doesn't make sense. You create this boundary, this barrier around you, and it makes it much harder because it's quite impossible to acquire a level of fluency from a native as a native.
Cara,
So
cara, eu sou um exemplo para isso. Eu tô dizendo que é possível. I'm telling you, man. It's like I'm not
no,
saying that this is the only
but
thing you need to do.
we still have accent. When I speak Spanish, I have an accent in when I speak Spanish or Italian. I have accent. A Brazilian, a
I
slightly
think I think
Brazilian.
it's okay to have accent.
No,
I'm not
yes,
saying You can try doing the tonation. I'm not. You don't need to. There is not
To
great.
sound native. Yes, it sounds like an American from New York.
Yeah,
That's
I can't do American accent, and I think most of it is because first I think people would understand you if I speak like this heavy Israeli accent, which is different from Brazilian. Like in Brazil, like Portuguese, I can't really. I don't think like if I really want to make Rebecca, my fiance, upset, I start speaking Portuguese, which I don't want usually. But once in a long while, I just start speaking Portuguese with Israeli accent, which is just normal, of course, and it's so ugly, guys. Honestly, it's like you cannot speak Portuguese without at least try to do the right tonation. And I think this is a it's you can be fluent, know all the words, speak about anything, but if you don't do this extra of trying to learn the accent, I think you're losing some like connection and relationship that it can be very strong with people for the culture, and they really respect it. That's one. And I think also I never made this thing with English from like American English, and I think to be honest, mainly, and I have the same thing with Arabic because it's connected to a lot of like this Western way of learning of English. If I speak like an idiot, English, American English, not valuable for like working, or like if I have heavy accent, it's like there's a lot of like stress inside and tension about my level of English. And if I can be full of myself in American English, it's very much different for me being full of myself in Portuguese because it's kind of a language that I'm supposed to be very good at. So that's one. And I think and also in Arabic, like Arabic. The reason I don't, and I'm embarrassed that I speak all those languages, and Arabic is not as fluent, or it's not fluent actually. And I think it's crazy because I live in Israel, but Arabic as well. I think the reason is that I'm afraid to make fool of myself, not because like indifferent from other languages, mainly because there is a conflict and a tension always uh, because of this narrative that we live in. So I think this is some things that there are obstacles. So it's the first, I think, is our conception of ourselves, or what the society or the people along the way pushed to our head. And the second thing, I think it's some, let's say, things that they are changing the status quo to be more like complicated for us, I think. So yeah.
I feel also in every language we speak, it's a bit of a different personality. Like you,
Total, no, it's not a bit, Elisa. It's a total different personality. Totally.
I'm completely different when I speak Russian and when I speak German and when I speak English. Especially if you speak the languages already like well, like really well, then when you have friends, when you can already like talk in a big group, like you're not struggling, then it's like you're like a different person in every language.
I have a funny story about that theme as well, which is pretty short, I hope. So I was late to a meeting, of course. I was like just around the neighborhood here next to the office. I was with my bikes, I think. And there is this weird thing in the building where our office is that like it's a huge building and there is many entrances, and for some reason like very very like early they close all the entrances beside one, and you need to like to do like crazy detour just to enter the building. So I was a little bit late, and it was closed, the entrance, which is the closest to the office. So I decided to, do a hack, combina in Hebrew. Um, and I said, okay, I will go to the parking, like underground parking, and then I will go from there. And I was like speeding, entering the parking, and the guard was like, hey, hey, stop! Like you cannot do it. And as an Israeli, when someone comes to you with anything and you only care about yourself, you react very kind of Israeli way, which is kind of very kind of aggressive. It was like an old guy, you know. So I felt like all of a sudden, yeah, I wanna like argue with him, and like I'm telling you, it's like a matter of like a minute, even less. I was like kind of like, yeah, why, yeah, and I was all of a sudden I noticed that he has a Brazilian accent, and I was like, in this moment of this aggression, Israeli, conflict, I was it changed to Portuguese, and I was start saying, ah, você é brasileiro, ah, você é do Rio, and then he was like from Rio, from Rio de Janeiro, and he was like an old guy. He was immigrate like 25 years ago. Since then, he works in the same job. He's from Ashkelon, which is very far from where we work. He's come every day, and I was telling him, ah, você tem que conhecer, temos samba toda semana. I was telling him that he need to come to the samba event every week, and since then, I'm trying to all the time to go there and say hi to Yossi, which is Jose, and I think what I really, and I remember it was like mind blowing for me that this day, and I still today feel it, the difference of my personality speaking Hebrew versus Portuguese, even the tonation. Like
Yes,
when I speak Hebrew, Rebecca always says like I speak very low. It's like very heavy. When I speak Portuguese, it's very like exciting, very emotional. Um, I think this is like even therapy I'm doing in Portuguese, like couple therapy, and it's like that. And I feel much more comfortable to speak my own native language, speaking Portuguese, like
Shaqued,
emotionally.
you're a Brazilian.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's face it. Let's
Hard.
face it. In some past lives of yours, you're born Brazilian. Probably like in the mid 80s,
And I want my son to be
1800s.
Joao. I remember
So,
first time I met the first Joao in my life. It was actually two Joaos different. Joao Africa, Joao Pequeno. I
João
remember
Pequeno.
with my friends we were saying like when we have a child we will call him Joao. And I think it's gonna happen.
What's the name?
Joao Pequeno.
It's my brother's name, João.
Of course, it's every other Brazilian person
Yes,
names.
it's like even my in my family. It's all biblical names like Pedro, João, Marco, e Paulo.
And I
It's all
and I think yeah,
from
I think
Bible.
it's also one of the hardest name to pronounce for any other person
João, yes,
Brazilian.
definitely,
So,
because the A with the accent there, el acento.
eu preciso fazer xixi, cara. Vamos acabar?
Vamos, vamos. I love.
Another funny word in Portuguese is xixi, which means
Ah,
peeing, and in
I
Hebrew,
said actually.
like xixi, it's the holy day of like Friday. So yeah,
Yes, Yom Shishi,
Yom Shishi, it means
Yom
like the
Shishi,
day of
the
yeah.
Friday, Yom
And
Shishi.
in
I
Chinese,
remember
it's thank
this
you,
word.
I think. Sheshe.
What is
Or
it?
something. I think something maybe not shishi, but shishe or something like that in Chinese is thank you.
Yeah.
Chi
Yeah,
Chi.
xixi. So, but guys, I think maybe we can wrap it up. But before, maybe we can just say the word that we like the most in any language that we speak, like one at least. Mine is saudades in Portuguese.
I
Which,
really enjoy Ojalá in
Hey,
Spanish.
but you need to
oh,
explain what it means.
yeah, sorry. So saudades, it's very hard. I don't think it's doable to translate to a word either in English or Hebrew, but it means the feeling of missing someone, the feeling of missing someone, and it's something that you say a lot. And I think also Brazilian in general, they speak a lot from their heart, and they speak a lot with their emotion, and they compliment a lot. It's very common, which I think in like Europe and the US, in Israel, people are not, it's like kind of a pervert if you compliment someone, I don't know, especially the other gender. So I think this is a very cool thing about Brazilian. They are very emotional, very uh, uh, let's say expressing, and I think saudade is it's the best word in Portuguese.
Nice,
Toca
it's a
você.
beautiful word. For me is I like this word in Spanish and Italian, which is the same meaning. Ojalá, e magari, magari. it's it means hope, like hopefully, like ojalá this happens. Ojalá eso pueda se pasar. It's a kind of word that I it sounds beautiful. It sounds funny because we like the Spanish one, like in Argentina, everyone like says ojalá. It's like hopefully this kind of thing happen, or hopefully this kind of situation doesn't happen. So it's like a kind of word very used like by Spanish in general.
Okay.
Ojalá.
Okay.
Y
I can tell you a word, maybe you've heard about it. It's in German, it's called Fernweh. It's
no.
basically the opposite of homesick. It's like when you crave to go some
Wow, very cool.
far
Can
away
you
from
repeat? Can you
fern
repeat?
Fernweh.
Fanvi.
Fanvey.
Yeah,
Fanvey.
Fanvi.
Fernweh.
Wow. Actually, I just discovered something about German, like because I'm dealing with the languages and stuff. And I think, I don't know, it's my hypothesis. Maybe you can, you agree or not. Like there is this thing in German, Lesma correct me if I'm wrong, that every time you have a verb, which is basically almost every sentence, the verb always split in the start of the sentence and in the end of the sentence. What means for me is that in order to understand what the person wants to say, you need to listen until he finish the sentence, which is very not Israeli and also very interesting, I think. I don't know, Alisa, if it's true what I'm saying, like in all cases, this sandwich kind of a verb in the start and in the end combined.
Honestly, I'm not sure what it
Doesn't
means.
matter. Let's say it is because this is understood.
Is it
And
fake news? This?
it's a hypothesis. Okay, guys, yeah, we
Okay,
can
Fake
don't
maybe
news.
worry.
think.
Fake news.
Yeah. So my theory is
Maybe
that German are much more polite, and like it's very rare to see a German person interrupt in the middle of other person speaking because of that. And I think we Israelis were not, because like the essence of the sentence is right in the start, like subject and then the verb. It's usually it starts the sentence with like in a very prominent place. So we are much more, let's say, interrupting each other. So
Yeah,
that's my
like for all the
theory.
Latin languages.
I think it's
Now
more
we
the
can.
culture. I think
I
it's
think
more the
it's I think
culture.
the language affect the culture. To be honest, I really think so.
Don't blame the language.
No, I think it's connected.
Just kidding, just
Yeah,
kidding.
also in like Arabic and
It's
Hebrew and
connected.
some stuff.
I mean, it comes out from it's interconnected and it's entangled, and one thing
Because
comes out
words
of
has a lot of power, for my opinion. Like the way you speak to another person affects everything. So, and I think that's why language is so important. Like that's why I really believe that language can make like people less ignorant, and in general, like I think it's a very powerful thing we have, and I think this is also what's like differentiate us than animals or like any other beings, is this very advanced way of communicating. And I think like people, I don't think we understand enough how powerful it is. And it's more than just like luxury. Yeah, I can speak some French and German. It's really life changing. It's very strong. Yeah.
good note, Shaked, for us to wrap up. Thank
Namaste.
you, gentlemen, for this
I
beautiful
had a
podcast
lovely moment here, and luckily we didn't lost. Thanks, we didn't lost anything for
connection.
this one. The connection is perfect, amazing. It's
Cool.
Yeah.
the best
Thank
connection
you,
ever.
God. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Shaked,
Thank you,
and
So,
Shaq.
see you next week.
See you next week. I will pick it. I will pick someone. Yesterday I had like a meeting with Mayara and all the Latin core team, and I said, "Your time will come." I will pick like some random person.
yeah.
Probably I don't know if it's Mayara or Jose, Tino. I don't know. At some point, everyone will be in this room.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing initiative, and I always would love to join if you
Cool.
will allow me. Thank you,
Nice.
guys.
Thank you.
Chibuk.
Thank you,
Bye
Lisa.
bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Shaki.
Bye.